On 23rd of May 2017, Real Madrid announced to the world that they've secured the services of the next Neymar. Like his compatriot, Vinicius Jr was already a household name in Rio de Janeiro before being eligible for Flamengo's first team. By the time the youngster would make his second appearance for the Rubro-Negro, he had already secured his first contract extension. In the same week, it was announced that Real Madrid have signed him for a reported €45 million. Los Blancos were gambling on an unproven teenager, but were not going to make the mistake that they did with Neymar. The club had the opportunity to have right of first refusal when the prodigious talent was only 14. They didn't exercise their right when signing Robinho, and Barcelona stole the march for his services. Florentino Perez has learnt from his mistakes and acted swiftly to add Vinicius to Real Madrid's stable of talent. Another Samba talent would not be missed by the Santiago Bernabeu faithful, not on his watch. Perez has delivered the Galacticos in the Spanish capital during his first reign in charge, and he was ushering the same in his second stint. Back in the Iberian Peninsula, the news of Vinicius Jr.'s acquisition hit everyone by surprise. The fact that Madrid broke the record for the highest amount paid ever for a footballer under the age of 19 made it all the more noteworthy. The fans in Brazil would find out soon enough why the Spaniards moved so swiftly to sign the then 17-year-old. But the news was not seen in a similar light in European football. The most illustrious club in European football had broken the bank on an unproven youngster. It was not a question about the amount splashed on signing him. If the bet pays off, the payment made forward on him will be recouped instantaneously. It was a question about why the club had moved ahead with the signing and put in motion a project that will not pay dividends in the years to come. Real Madrid were preparing for life without Cristiano Ronaldo. It was plain as day to understand why the deal was made. The Portuguese was 32 years old and at the tail end of his career. Zinedine Zidane was managing his workload, and a time would come when he would not be able to carry his weight. A replacement from within had to come. It seems the answer from the Real Madrid hierarchy was to nourish the talents of an enterprising youngster who can be considered their own Lionel Messi. Despite the millions spent on bringing in established stars, players have struggled to hit the ground running at the Santiago Bernabeu. Ronaldo was the exception to the rule, and everyone alongside him in the back-to-back Champions League winning roster had taken their time to adjust in the Spanish capital. Karim Benzema, Luka Modric, Gareth Bale, Rafael Varane, Marcelo, and others, everyone had arrived in Madrid and were bamboozled by it. The 17-year-old was seen as Ronaldo's replacement, the man who would unlock the market in the South American continent and help with success on it. And this decision was taken when Vinicius was yet to be of legal age. To make matters more interesting, the São Gonçalo native had to ply his trade in native Brazil for a year before making the trip across the Atlantic. It was going to be a gradual evolution, but at what rate and what cost, only time would tell. By the time he would arrive on the Spanish shores, the tall order in front of him had already gotten taller. Real Madrid had managed the unthinkable and claimed their third successive Champions League title, getting rid of Liverpool in clinical fashion. Soon after, the jolts of their unprecedented success would be felt. Gareth Bale gave an ultimatum regarding his role at the club. Zidane would vacate the managerial hot seat. However, the biggest one was the defection of Cristiano Ronaldo to Juventus. Los Blancos were paid handsomely. €117 million handsomely, but they would be losing the chief goal-scoring source. It was a travesty, but one that needed to be dealt with. Zidane's exit was consolidated by Julen Lopetegui's arrival. Probably the Spanish national team manager would be able to calm down Gareth Bale and manage some success without Madrid's most potent tool. Everyone would have to stand up and get themselves noticed. Only this way could the club replace their history's highest goalscorer. However, as one generational player was leaving the Santiago Bernabeu, another was joining it. After all, this is why Vinicius Jr was roped in the first place. Some also say that this was the reason why Ronaldo hastened his departure from La Liga. If the club for whom he'd shed blood, sweat and tears was easily going to discard him, then he was going to look after his interests before theirs. The former Man United winger's move from Spain to Italy raised eyebrows, but cast more shadows on the club than the player. Madrid had failed to take care of their talisman, and was losing him in the process. Whether the story about Cristiano leaving the Santiago Bernabeu due to Vinicius' arrival is true or not, it got its fair share in the Spanish media. Despite all his tantrums and prima donna actions, Ronaldo was beloved for his desire for success, and now the blame for his departure was being put in some circles for the expenditure on an 18-year-old. Vinicius was in for a rude awakening when he would touch down at the Adolfo Suarez Madrid Barajas airport. Everyone around the bear and the strawberry tree were awaiting Vinicius. Some were intrigued by him, some were angry at him. The latest footballing sensation from Brazil had his work cut out for him. It would be a baptism by fire, and unbeknownst to him, the cauldron was already hot before he even made a single touch. This was all before 20th of July 2018, when Madrid officially presented him as a Real Madrid player. The Spanish media would go into overdrive when Florentino Perez welcomed him with these words: "Your desire was to be a success at this club, and you now have to work hard so that your magical talent becomes unstoppable. You're destined to become one of the game's all-time greats, but you're showing that you've already achieved that." Here was a club that lost the greatest player of its illustrious history due to their negligence, and it was showering praise on a nobody who'd yet to prove his credentials. Everyone was watching this new Wonderkid in the Spanish capital. After all, it was worth watching. The backdrop to this story had uncertainty, drama, suspense, deceit, and a rags-to-riches element. While there was skepticism in Madrid, back in Brazil they were looking at the Wonderkid of a generation. The young boy from São Gonçalo was plying his trade at the biggest club in the world after making his debut as a 16-year-old, playing and scoring in the Copa Libertadores, as well as leading the Brazilian team to victory in the South American Under-17 Championship. In the latter, he was named the tournament's best player and was the top goal scorer with 7 goals. There was plenty of optimism about his future, and with good reason. He was a footballing prodigy from the home of football. Real Madrid and La Liga fans would find out soon enough. All eyes were on Vinicius' progression in Castilla. He made his debut against Las Palmas Athletic, starting on the left wing in an advanced position. The youthful Galactico gave a good account of himself until his 72-minute substitution. However, it was against the Atletico Madrid B team that showed what he could produce. While the game ended in a stalemate, Vinicius scored a well-timed brace, while also showing he had the tenacity for the ugly. He would earn his first of 4 successive yellow cards in the 81st minute. In the coming 3 games, he would add 3 goal contributions against his name. He got on the scoreboard against Unionistas CF and Celta Vigo B, while also chipping in with an assist against CYD Leonesa. His outing against Celta's youth team would prove to be his last, one in which he would get his marching orders in the dying minute of the game. In the upper echelons of Spanish top-flight football, Julen Lopetegui was having a tough time. The managerial hot seat was proving to be a difficult task to manage as injuries piled up and Ronaldo's absence at the tip of attack was felt. Lopetegui needed some inspiration, and he took the gamble on the young recruit. The Spanish manager sent Vinicius on the pitch with 3 minutes remaining in the Madrid derby. The scores were locked at 0-0, and while the prodigious talent would not change the fate of the game, his appearance showed the confidence placed in him. Vinicius was given 10 more minutes in the 1-0 loss to Deportivo Alaves. He would not feature again under Julen Lopetegui as the manager was also given his marching orders. Santiago Solari would replace the outgoing manager, and the Argentine caretaker continued to place his trust in him. It was swiftly repaid as the attacker gave the assist for Los Blancos opener 10 minutes after coming on in the 73rd minute. This goal would mark the end of Madrid's slide in the La Liga points table and signal good times ahead. In the return fixture against Deportivo Alaves, Vinicius ended his barren run in Real Madrid colours for his first goal in 11 first-team appearances. He was on point against Atletico Madrid in the next fixture, finishing the game with an assist as he won the penalty that Sergio Ramos converted in the 43rd minute. Vinicius' star was on the ascendancy, but his progress was halted as he suffered a ruptured knee ligament injury. When he returned, Zidane was back in the dugout to see off the season. He was sparingly used in his first 2 games, but got a complete workout against Real Betis. The young Brazilian did not have an incredible breakout season in the Spanish capital, but he proved that the confidence in him was justified. He finished the campaign with 4 goals and 12 assists. Not bad for an 18-year-old. Eden Hazard arrived amidst much fanfare and injuries blighted him. The Belgian had Vinicius to accompany him on the treatment table. While the former Chelsea man could forget the campaign despite adding a La Liga winners' medal to his trophy cabinet, the former Flamengo attacker gave a good enough account of himself. He finished the 19-20 season with 5 goals and 4 assists to his name, an improvement on Hazard's solitary strike and 7 assists. Hazard and Vinicius will battle amongst each other for a starting berth on the left flank. While Gareth Bale's year-long loan to Tottenham has reduced competition, it will not be easy to hold a regular spot. However, Vinicius has started the campaign brightly. He already has 3 goals and an assist to his name, and surely more will come as he finds his footing in Spanish top-flight football. The shadow of Cristiano Ronaldo still looms large at the Santiago Bernabeu, but it's Eden Hazard who has to bear it as the Brazilian youngster is given time to make a name for himself. Playing at the biggest club in world football is a daunting task, and he's shown that he can mix it with the best. However, if he has to truly become the player for whom Real Madrid paid €45 million, he has to improve on his finishing. Cristiano learned that after getting regular campaigns under his belt, and Vinicius is being given the same leeway. But it's not stopping anyone from keeping their eyes glued on him. He has the allure of becoming that generational talent, and everyone across the globe is keeping tabs on him.